Hi. I'm back on the couch like I was last year because the chemo has made me so tired. Okay, so the chemo I'm on strips my body of platinum and calcium. What this does is it causes the skin on my nerves. The nerves have their own skin, myelin sheath it's called, and it strips that. It breaks it down. So all of my nerves are losing their insulating cover. So if you think of a nerve as an electrical wire, it's like the copper's being stripped bare. That's my parrot. Then, because it's stripping calcium, calcium is one of the two, calcium and salt, NaCl. Anyway, it's one of the ingredients used to actually send the electrical signal. So like every time an electrical signal travels from one nerve to the next nerve, calcium is used to spark that gap. So that's being stripped. So my nerves aren't functioning correctly. They're actually being slowed down. It's kind of like if you take your favorite electronic thing and leave it out in the salt flat dust for a while, and all that dust starts to coat it, and it starts to get slow and sluggish and glitchy and fail. The way it feels is that I'm constantly exhausted, and nothing I eat or drink helps. Rest helps a little, but it only helps enough to be able to allow me to get up and make another snack. It feels like you're stupid. You know you should know that, you should be able to understand that, but you really can't. It's just too hard. It's just, you know, on those lousy days when you're hungover and you're like, yeah, I know I should understand what 2 + 2 means, but I don't, and I don't care, and it's too much work. And depressing. I mean, just everything. It's just hard to feel positive about things. It's hard to feel hopeful and optimistic. And I cry very easily. So that's how I'm feeling right now. This is the second cycle of chemo that's done this to me. The last time I got about 2.5 days of normal before the next chemo treatment started. And each time I've had chemo, the side effects, which is what this is, have lasted longer. So this is supposed to go till June. This could be one hell of a year. And I thought last year was my worst year. I guess it was, but this year isn't going to be a better year. So that's not what I want to talk about in this vlog. Actually, I want to talk about transgender stuff. Something I don't really talk about a lot because nobody really wants to hear about it, and they're not comfortable with it, and it's not important anyway, because, I mean, you're looking at a woman sitting on a couch, combing her long female hair. I've got a high-pitched voice, I've got delicate fingers. I'm only 5'4" tall, and okay, I've regained a lot of that weight, but I've always mostly been a fairly petite woman. I have a large personality, so I don't seem petite. I have a very forceful personality. I've always been told things like, you're strong, you're assertive, you're too much. The phrase too much has been used a lot. I'm too dominant. I've been complained of that I'm too dominant, that I'm, you know, I'm too assertive, I'm too dominant, I'm too strong. All the things I ever wanted to do in life, I wasn't supposed to do because they're for boys and I'm a girl. And, you know, I remember finding out about truck driving and thinking, hey, now that would be a really fun thing to do with my life. And going home, Mom, Dad, can we work on getting, you know, because I was supposed to pick a career from the age of like 13. People were, well, even as a child, they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I could never think of a role available to me that was attractive to me. So I never had an answer, but, you know, I started trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. And one of the things, I want to be a truck driver. Oh, you can't do that, they said to me. truck driving isn't for girls like you. It's for strong, butch women, if women at all. I mean, it's a rough, tough life. It's dangerous at those truck stops. You're too delicate. You're too female. I want to be a mechanic. Oh, you can't be a mechanic. You're not emotionally strong enough. You're not physically strong enough. You're not masculine enough. I want to be an engineer. Oh, engineering is for boys. Just step by step through my life, every time that I came up with something I wanted to do, it was too masculine. And I was too feminine. The things that were available to me were all nurturing, caring, service industry type things. You know, wife, mother, of course. Everybody expected me to have babies, but I never had a mothering instinct. I could have been a great father, but I couldn't have been a good mother. That was how I always felt. Like, you know, I could come home after a day of work and deal with the kids and help out, but sure as heck don't leave me with a toddler all day, because I'll probably wind up being cruel to it. And I think I have the patience now. I wouldn't be cruel to a child that I was stuck with day in and day out, 24/7. But as a young woman, no, that wasn't going to happen. But I do remember feeling like a little boy most of my childhood. And at the same time, the world around me rewarded me for any feminine affectations. If my hair was long, I was a pretty little girl. If I curtsied, I was a pretty little girl. Anything I did that made me a pretty little girl I was given praise and reward. And anything that I or anyone around me did that smacked of tomboy was at best kindly tolerated, and we hope she grows out of it. So it was made very, very clear to me that I have a gender and I have a role, and that I will be rewarded for following that gender and role. And furthermore, that punishments were severe for those who did not toe the line. Gay people, honestly, around the dinner table, I heard the phrase, lined up and shot, against the wall and shot. Seriously, my own father said that about people who were not, you know, fitting within the narrow definition of gender and sexuality that was prevalent at that time. And we heard of people who were non-standard, who were sexual deviants. We heard of them being arrested, being beaten, being murdered, being raped, being cruelly treated in the most horrifying of ways. Now, I'm just a little 5'4" person. I weighed 120 pounds. I had no power, no influence. I was sidelined. You know, the autism didn't help. I was sidelined, and I had no support, and I had no friends. How would a person like me be so brave? Oh yeah, and do me a favor and stop using the phrase, "you're so brave," for people who are stuck in a situation they can't get out of because they embrace that situation and work within it. I'm not brave for having cancer. I'm stuck here. Steph Sanyati is not brave for going ahead and transitioning from male to female. She has no choice. She has no choice. She can either face a life of abject misery in the wrong body, trying like hell not to be suicidal, which has been my life, or she can do what modern technology offers her, as she's doing. She's taking the hormones. She's going through the surgery. She's standing up for herself. She's saying, no, I am a woman. It doesn't matter what my DNA says. It doesn't matter what my physical contour. I mean, if a person was born handicapped without legs, would you call them not a human? Of course you wouldn't. It's not a definition of who you are. If a person had not, you know, a child is born with no arms, no legs, possibly no pelvis, just parts of a body. You don't call them less than human. You don't say they aren't human. You treat them as human beings. Right? Now, what if she was born with no genitalia? Would you give her permission to choose her gender? And would she choose it from a list like, men have a better deal in life. I think I'll choose to be a man. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't expect that. You'd expect her to, at some point, say, well, I identify as a female. And then everybody'd be like, well, you know, it's not like we assigned you a gender at birth, so you're allowed to be female. But when you're assigned a gender at birth because you have an innie or an outie, all of a sudden you must be what you've been assigned. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter that my mentation was always masculine. My interests were always masculine. You know what I did with those Barbie dolls I was given to play with? I put them in orgies. I'm 8 years old, and my Barbie dolls are murdering and raping each other. Yeah, I know. I wonder sometimes too, but trust me, I have never been cruel to anybody in any sort of way like that. I have never followed through on any such things. I just hated those Barbie dolls because they were so stupid. I hated the idea that I was supposed to play by manufacturing little soap operas. I wanted trucks. I asked over and over again, can I please have a Tonka truck? Can I please have a sandbox with a digger? I would interfere with my brother's toys and get spanked for it. I wasn't allowed to play with his toys. I wasn't allowed to touch them. And I was so jealous. I wanted so badly to play with them. I wanted to make hills and build things. I wanted that mechano set. No, you can't have a mechano set. My favorite toy ever was the stupid little wooden geometric shapes that I could build things out of. I wanted to build things. I built log cabins. I loved it. But no, they kept taking those toys away from me and giving me dolls. Here's a baby doll. Learn to play with it. I hated those things. Hated them. I had no nurturing bones in me. I wanted to play with kids, but I sure in heck didn't want to diaper them and feed them and coo-coo, coo-coo-choo. I still don't like babies. And I knew in my heart that I was a boy and that I was born in the wrong body. And I looked at the world around me and I knew I had no option. I still don't, really. I'm 53 years old. My sexuality's been surgically removed. And socially removed. And I'm married to a man. And I need him. We're people. We're partners. We live together. We work our life together. We make our plans together. We're married. I don't just throw all that away because I wish the world saw me as a man, and I don't have the illusion of thinking that even if I, at this time in my life, healed my cancer, moved heaven and earth, or waved a magic wand and suddenly the world saw me, the world would not see me as a man. They wouldn't. I don't think it is possible for me to be a man in body as I am in mind. Oh, I know, men aren't supposed to cry like this. I have a really good excuse for the amount of crying that I do. It's called a head injury. I was 5 years old, and I was playing with the wagon wheel on the fake wishing well. We had an artesian well on the property, and it was decorated with an artificial wishing well that had a giant wagon wheel on the side and a fake bucket that didn't go anywhere. And the wagon wheel didn't turn the bucket or the bucket crank. It just spun on the spot. And I was fascinated by it. I was fascinated by all things engineering and all things, anything like that. So even though they told me don't spin it, I spun it. Well, I was 4 years old. How did I know I was unscrewing it? Well, that damn wagon wheel, and we're not talking about some mock-up prop wagon wheel. It was an actual wagon wheel, steel rim, big wooden hub, big wooden spokes, big wooden hub with a steel rim on it, whacked me, clunk, right on the head. It fell down and hit me on the head. The next thing I recollect after watching it fall off of its hub, like I watched it fall, I saw that, and then the next thing I remember is my blonde hair with blood running through it as my mother's screaming and crying and rinsing the blood out of my hair. Now, I wasn't taken to a doctor because back in those days, if the kid could walk and talk, he was good. She was good. Sorry. You didn't go racing off to the doctor for an event that was over. So I still have a scar there. And that head injury, when I was studying in university when I was studying the areas of the brain and the effects that brain lesions have. One of the things I came across was that if a person had a lesion in an area of a brain which corresponded exactly to my scar, it could cause them to cry uncontrollably, to cry over even minor things. And I went, oh, no wonder I was a crybaby in school. No wonder still can't decide not to cry. You can decide not to cry. You can through force of will. For something to make you unable to decide not to cry, it must be so deeply and utterly devastating that you would, if a knife was handy, plunge it into your heart. That is what it would take for you to be unable to decide not to cry. For me to decide not to cry is like an exercise in Zen Buddhist meditation. I have to actually slow my heartbeat, slow my breath rate, clear my mind of thoughts. And I've done a lot of meditation. I have to go to an extreme length. And if I'm already under stress and the chemo and everything, and I'm already tense, just relaxing will make me cry. So I cry a lot. And that has humanized me and feminized me a lot. It's helped me pass for female instead of a butch female. Being small of feature, being fair of face. Why didn't I adopt a more butch? Why am I not more butch? Well, for one thing, I'm a heterosexual man. So for me to look at myself in the mirror, looking at a woman, I want her, the woman in the mirror, to be as pleasing to my eyes as she can be. Because she is as close to a girlfriend as I'm ever going to get. Why am I not gay? Well, I'm bisexual. Maybe I am gay. But like many men, I find women difficult to get along with, and difficult to approach. And in the gay community, I found it even worse. I could not make a connection at all. It doesn't help that I'm autistic and my social skills are really bad. I mean, you take a man's social skills and then you handicap them, and that's me. And then because I'm female, I'm held to a higher standard, so people's response to my poor social skills is even nastier than if I was a man, which would have helped if I was a man. People would be like, well, you know, men, they're like that. They're clueless. Women aren't allowed to be clueless. So I just gave up trying to, I mean, I've had crushes on women. Oh my God, there have been some beautiful women in my life, and they found it very uncomfortable because they were always heteronormal, cisgendered women. And they didn't want me having my quiet crush on them, even though I didn't do anything and I didn't tell them. They just could feel it in the way that I moved or the way I looked at them or something. They knew. And it ruined the friendships. So, and I did have an experience with a gay woman, and she was lovely, but she was also, well, we were young. We had a lot of psychological, emotional issues, and so did she, and I'm really not going to sign up for an abusive relationship right at the outset when I know it's going to be abusive. She was wonderful and lovely in a lot of ways, but she was also kind of, I had enough head problems of my own. So I never got involved, but men are so easy to manipulate, honestly. You put a penis on a person and pump them full of testosterone, and all of a sudden the brain seems to drop to the balls, and all you have to do is just grab that penis and say, let's go here. And he's like, sure, okay. And so for me, relationships with men was easier. And, I didn't want to not have a sex life. I didn't want to be asexual. I didn't want to be abstinent. I wanted relationships. And not only that, but human beings, we thrive on relationships. I got to turn off the TV. It's distracting me. We thrive on relationships with people. We need intimate relationships. So, of course, I had to have intimate relationships. So I chose men. And it was harder to see the beauty of men. It was harder to be sexually attracted to men. It was more difficult. And to a degree, I did it by vicariously imagining myself in their bodies and seeing myself as as my girlfriend. I would imagine myself as him and then perform for him as I would want my body to do. So I made my body the object of our desire. And does that make sense? I've often heard men say, if I could grow tits, I would play with them all day. Or, if I had a girl's body, I would never quit having sex. And so if you imagine, if you stuck a man in a man's body and made him have sex with another man, made him have sex or he can't have it at all, would he or would he not go for it and be sexy burlesque all the way? And I did. And it was challenging, and relationships tended, the sex life in my relationships tended to wane out after a while because the play acting got old and it got tired. But the friendships with these men, that was fun. I really got along well with men because I thought like them. I understood where they were coming from. I could talk on a level with them. And so I had some really good friendships, except that because I wasn't real, one after another they would get to where they felt like I wasn't real enough. Of course I wasn't. I wasn't going to be the wife and mother that rescued them from their loneliness and gave them babies. You know, I had my tubes tied when I was 24 because I did not want to be a mother. I am nobody's mother. I never wanted to be a mother. I still don't want to be anybody's mother. And I'm not a mommy to my dog. I'm her mistress. Well, master, really. But I accept the gender pronouns of female because I live as a female. I go ahead and identify as a female to the world outside of me. I accept the gender identity handed to me by my genitalia because I have to. There was no transitioning. Sex change operation was something that men were experimenting with back then. In the 80s, when I was in my 20s, men were starting to be able to, we had transvestites, people who, and we assumed that it was just because it gave them a sexual thrill that they dressed in women's clothing, that the feel of the silky panties against their genitalia made them horny. But in point of fact, plenty of those people longed deeply to express the gender that they had in their heads. And they would dress in these clothing, and because of the damage that testosterone had done to these people's bodies, they always just looked like a fish out of water. A man in woman's clothing. The ugliest freaking woman you ever saw. And when they didn't, when they were gifted with delicate enough features to be able to pass, we praised them as really good artists. And we ridiculed the ones who couldn't pass. And it's changing now. And women were a bull dyke. That was it. That was all you had. You had the option of being a tomboy or a bull dyke. But you couldn't be a man. You're a woman, for God's sake. How can you be a man? And now you can. And there's a lot of technical details around it having to do with surgery, plastic surgery and reassignment surgery, and you can spend all kinds of time on YouTube learning about it. I encourage you, because these people who put this stuff out on YouTube, they need you to watch their videos. They need you to like their videos. They need you to listen to them. They need you to learn. They need you to hear. Go learn from them. They have something to teach about the mutability of the human experience. We are not what you think we are. That person across the bus from you has an entire universe in their head that you don't know about. And all you're required to do to respond to them is smile. Say, have a nice day. You don't have to tell them what bathroom to use. If someone comes into your bathroom when you're sitting there in front of the sink washing your hands, or maybe you use a urinal, or maybe you're in the stall, or maybe you're working with your little 5-year-old kid to help them get their pants up and wipe their butt. Someone comes in the bathroom and they don't look specifically gender's perfect, as a tomboy, or they look asexual or you can't quite make out, is that a girl or a boy? It doesn't matter. It's none of your damn business. Are you in a girl's bathroom? Then that's a girl. Are you in a boy's bathroom? Then that's a boy. Leave it at that. Seriously, that's all you have to do. They're not interested in you or your child or what's in your pants. They don't care. They're not in here to look at your 5-year-old's genitalia, to peek over the stall and watch while you wipe your little boy's bum. They don't care. They're not pedophiles. They're just a person whose sexuality isn't blatantly obvious. And the reason why is none of your damn business. None. I, a man, dressed in women's clothing, have been going into women's bathrooms since I was a little girl. Think about that. I'm attracted to women. And I've been walking into women's bathrooms where women have their pants down with my man's mind, disguised as a woman by nature, walking around, going into women's change rooms, looking at their bodies with my manly mind and my manly imagination. Think about that. How many of us are out there? And now you're saying, oh, you may be a man in your head, but your body's female, so you have to go into the women's change rooms because we're afraid that if you go into the men's change room, you're going to have salacious thoughts about the men. Full stop. Hang on a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. Back that up. Maybe you actually want me in the men's room. Now, I don't want to go in the men's room. I'll tell you why. I don't want to go in the men's room because men are filthy, and I'm not. I'm very clean. If I had a lot of testosterone running in my body, maybe my feelings about dirt would change. I don't know. Maybe it has nothing to do with gender, but when I go into men's rooms and clean because I've been a cleaner, it's filthy. I don't want to use it. There's urine everywhere. And I also don't want to go into men's rooms because I have a female body and I don't want to be raped by the men in the men's room. The heterosexual, cisgendered, normal men who are the primary rapists in this world. When it comes down to rape, and you're worried about rape, and that's the excuse behind these transgender bathroom bills, it's always, almost always, a heterosexual man who does the raping. So why would you send your little girls who are wearing boys' bodies into the men's room, dressed as girls, feeling like girls, with girls' emotions, girls' fears, and looking like girls, into the men's room to be raped? It's not like boys can't be raped. You know that. So, when you're looking at someone, you're going, that's an it. Is that a girl or a boy? I can't tell. The answer is, none of your damn business. Don't worry about it. It's not your problem. It's not your problem. It's not your business. The only time it would ever be relevant to you is if you're actually in a relationship with them because you've fallen in love with that human being, and now you're trying to figure out how to take it to the next level and be intimate. And believe me, you'll work that out. People always do. So, here's my open public declaration in support of all my trans men, all my trans brothers and trans sisters. I am an old transgender who never got to transition, who just went ahead and lived as society said. And let me tell you, it's been a rough life, and I would trade it all up. I would trade it in a heartbeat. I would give up my whole life for one day of feeling like me. See you next time.